Byju's. Now, Byju Raveendran, the word is that he must step down. The board is saying that he must step down, and that is, that is a word that came out in the investors asking in the extraordinary general meeting. In parallel, the US unit of the edtech giant has also filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware. What's going on there, Karthik?
So again, Suyash, unfortunately, so the mess at Byju's is not new. Right. But I think the repercussions of that mess and the quicksand that Byju Raveendran and the founding members of Byju's find themselves in right now is unprecedented. Now, remember, it was a $22 billion valued enterprise in July 2022. And in the last 18 months, it has now been valued. In fact, on its own account, it was valued at about $1 billion. This is after 3-4 rounds of down rounds by or markdowns by companies like Prosus, investors like Prosus. And then in the recent rights issue that Byju Raveendran has offered existing shareholders to participate in at a discounted value, it seems that the value of the Byju parent company Think and Learn has now tanked to just about $225 to $250 million, which is pretty much a fraction of what it once was.
Right.
Now, what are the issues compounding here for Byju Raveendran? Number one, old investors, including those who had resigned from the board, Peak 15 Ventures, General Atlantic, many others, have now come out in the open process, have now come out in the open for the third time asking for an extraordinary general meeting.
Right.
An EGM which has been denied to them starting in July last year. So July is the first time they asked for an EGM. December they asked for an EGM again. And now the third time they're asking for an extraordinary general meeting. And the agenda of that EGM is to get the family of Byju Raveendran, which is his brother Riji Raveendran and his wife Divya Gogolnath, and Byju Raveendran himself, to resign from the board and also seek resignation of Byju Raveendran as the CEO of the group. This is one part of the problems. Now, why is all this happening? This is also happening because among many other issues, there is a $1.2 billion term loan B, for which now the bank, the bond holders are taking Think and Learn to NCLT. So that NCLT hearing is scheduled in Bangalore on the 7th of February. This is the domestic problem of an international loan that he had taken. There's an international problem of that as well. And like you mentioned, in your introduction, Suyash, the US unit of Byju's has yesterday filed for bankruptcy under Chapter 11. Now, the initial reports which are coming in on Reuters suggest that the kind of liabilities on the books of the US unit of Byju's could be anywhere between $1 billion to $10 billion.
Wow.
That is the range given, right? We just knew of the $1.2 billion, but here we are talking about $1 billion to $10 billion. And the number of creditors that Byju's could perhaps be defaulting on would range anything between 100 to 199. That is the number of organizations or people that Byju's owes to. Add to this a third problem. The third problem is that even if it does get admitted into Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the US, or vice versa here in India at NCLT on 7th of February, we don't know if bankruptcy proceedings will actually be admitted or not. But even in the US, for example, the statement which has come from Byju's is that their total assets are under $1 billion, anything between 500 million to 1 billion. So even if the company does liquidate, there will be no scope of more money being generated out of those liquidation proceedings to be able to repay the debt that the company has.
Wow. Interesting story and interesting development as far as Byju's is concerned.